Most people out there listen to gun writers or YouTube influencers when it comes to Africa hunting rifles. But this isn't actually a bad thing because getting information from clients who've hunted in different areas with different outfitters is a good method of putting hunting experiences into perspective that will closely align with what you should expect on your safari. But important information is often left out of the discussion, mainly the perspective of the actual professional hunters that live the experience all year. What do they like to see their clients bring to Africa? Well, most PHs are pretty quiet about guns and cartridges as a group because they don't want to be associated with the drama surrounding guns and cartridges. But some professional hunters have been caught on video providing their wisdom for us. In this video, I put together some tidbits of wisdom that I collected from various sources in order to give you a sense of how Africa PHs actually feel about the rifles and cartridges that their clients use.
What do you think about calibers? What would you recommend for a client coming in?
The average person doesn't use a 458 that well because he's not accustomed to recoil.
He's afraid of it.
Yeah. I don't like a multiplicity of calibers, so I like a man to bring one rifle.
Yes.
I like him to bring a 375, and I'm sure that's your sentiment.
May you go to heaven.
But of course, really the rifle a man wants to bring, his light rifle, should be the rifle that he uses frequently, that he's familiar with, and he...
Yeah, Craig, both these calibers are excellent for buffalo, and both types of rifles, obviously. I personally use a double, which you've got there. The 450 would work wonderfully. One of the problems with the 450 versus the bolt action is your shot opportunities are going to be reduced.
That's right.
Quite considerably, I think.
If you're going to use an open-sighted big gun, you're going to have to get close.
Yeah, you basically got to get close within sort of 50-yard range.
Sure.
But on the other hand, your scoped bolt action is going to give you a far greater distance to shoot at, and your shot opportunities therefore increase.
Absolutely.
And you can take more risky shots, or not necessarily risky, more difficult shots, should I say. But all in all, both very good calibers to have on this hunt. Starting with the double, the biggest fault that we find here is a hunter will take a shot and he will pull the front trigger again, because it's quite foreign to pull the front then pull the back. You've actually got to really practice that.
Oh, it takes a lot of practice. Guys that have shot double shotguns all their lives do fine, but guys that have shot single trigger firearms, it takes a lot of work to find that second trigger.
It certainly does, and just as a matter of interest, in my case, I have a double-barreled over and under shotgun, which had two triggers. Sorry, it had one trigger, and I had it modified to two triggers.
Oh, really?
So that I would never get mixed up between using my shotgun and my double. So it's quite a tricky thing, and people have really got to practice to get it right.
What caliber to use when we're hunting plains game here in South Africa?
My personal choice is the 300 Win Mag, either 180 grain or 210 grain bullet. It's sufficient for all our plains game.
Tell me your preference about the big 5 game animals as far as caliber goes and gun.
Well, again, Joe, I like to keep it simple. My personal preference is a 375. If you're comfortable with a 416, that's a very good rifle. I would suggest though that you shoot it a couple of times beforehand if you're buying it new before the hunt. But it's really important that you're comfortable with the rifle that you're going to hunt the big 5 with. As I said, 375, 416, more than sufficient to take down any of the big 5. And if you're coming giraffe hunting, that's also a good choice.
I appreciate that.
Well, lots of practice. Get yourself into good shape. Here in the valley you would do a lot of walking. Practice those shooting sticks. Get familiar with your rifle, reloading, shooting, and obviously getting the right caliber that you can handle the recoil. Some people can't handle recoil. I would suggest starting off with a 375 if you can't handle it. If you want to go up, well, by all means please do that, but I would just get your fitness on par and shooting of sticks. You do a lot of shooting of sticks, and you have to shoot quickly here. So as soon as you get on the sticks, be ready to shoot.
But your plains game, your game spot kill wildebeest, they will not fighting you. You doesn't need that big gun. You bring your deer gun, the one that you use every season on your whitetail or whatever you shoot there. You bring that gun, it's a big enough gun. 30-06, your 308, 300, I love a 300, Win Mag.
So we got into this herd of elephants in the jets, and there was that Tutless cow there, an old cow in Tutless. And this whole hunting incident took place in October, which in October in the Zambezi Valley is known as Suicide Month. So Mrs. Habitat got into a position to this old Tutless elephant cow, and I told her she could take a side brain shot, which she did, and she shot too high, and there was this elephant cow staggering around like I was drunk, and I shouted to her to reload and to shoot it again. And I glanced down at her, and I saw that I shouted at her, shoot it again! And she finally got the bolt lifted, and as she pulled it back, and she tried to ram another cartridge in, and of course she had a massive jam. And what had actually happened, she'd actually pulled the extractor right off, that little fingernail extractor, she'd ripped it right off. So
oh my.
all of a sudden, her new Remington M700 rifle was suddenly a very expensive club. And we were in amongst us, all these elephants were shouting and screaming, and there she was standing with a rifle with the cartridge case jammed into the chamber, and that was it. So luckily the others learned to shot the elephant cow, and we managed to get out of there until, normally just retreat until eventually everything died down. But her rifle was absolutely useless. We had to take a cleaning rod and then go and beat the cartridge case out. It was quite interesting because after that, there was a real wake-up call that after that, everybody that had a push-feed fingernail extractor rifle, we made them carry a cleaning rod with them when they went very early on in my professional hunting career. From that moment onward, I viewed every rifle that had a push-feed rifle with a little fingernail extractor with the greatest of suspicion. It was a real learning curve for me, and I was very much against those rifles ever since then, and I remain so to this day.
I have a 458 Win Mag here with a red dot on it, which I got last year. It's changed my life, to be honest with you. Just so much quicker. This is a rifle which I've had for about 15 years now. It's been through my family, three generations now. Very comfortable, and I love it, and it works.
I'm the apprentice for Dalton York Safaris, and I've been working with them for a little while now, and I'm on my way to getting my professional hunter's license. I'm using a 416 Remington Winchester Model 70, and I bought it a few years back when I started my apprenticeship, and so far it's done me very well.
What would you suggest as a gun caliber to bring for Cape Buffalo?
375 or 416. You get 416 is a big caliber. A lot of hunters are not familiar with it, or they're familiar with it, but they're not used to hunting with a 416. Right. To get into more detail, you come on a buffalo safari. The ideal, everybody always, you want to shoot the buffalo on the shoulder or just behind the shoulder. They don't always stand broadside.
Sure.
And that is a key factor, if you want to call it a factor, that a hunter needs to look at. So that animal a lot of them would be quartering towards you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to take a quartering away shot, but
right.
that does happen, but broadside quartering towards you from whichever angle. And then the frontal, the 416 does better.
Okay.
The frontal, personally, with the 375, I won't let a client take a frontal with a 375.
Okay.
Unless it's extremely close, but still, it's just not worth it. 416, you can do it.
I'll just to add to that, from a client's point of view, I think a 375 is outstanding. Yes. But from a professional hunter's point of view, whose job is slightly different, I'm not all that in favor of carrying a 3. The 416, I mean, it's one of the greats.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think the advantage of the 416 over the 375, from a professional hunter's point of view, it definitely numbs those big buffalo bulls a bit more than a 375.
Yeah.
When that 400 grain bullet hits them, I mean, you can see the effect. As far as stopping a charge, I think it's, look, at times nothing's ever big enough.
True.
But many of the best professional hunters throughout Africa use a 416.
Absolutely.
And that wouldn't be the case if it didn't stop a charge on buffalo adequately. Craig, I think a 375 or a 404 or a 416, and in fact even some of the doubles can get top with a scope. It ensures that first shot is good. It reduces the chances of a bad shot, and I think a scope is an absolute essential on hunting buffalo. It's even more important in open mapani or where your shots are going to be longer. But before we get on to that, the quality of the scope is equally as important as having a scope. I've seen too many poor quality scopes come across here, and on heavy rifles with a big recoil, you get distortion and the reticles go out. The other thing is your shot opportunities increase by, I would say, about 50% when you're using a scope. Very often you'll get a herd of buffalo, and as you well know, it's not easy to get close to a herd of buffalo.
No, that's
there
right.
are a lot of eyes looking for you.
Between 450 and 475, tend to use about a 500 grain bullet, and velocity varies. But now these are real stopping rifles, no question about that. And this is the kind of rifle that most professional hunters would carry, don't you think?
Without a doubt. Particularly if you're working in very thick cover or with a thick cover, that 500 grain bullet is a must. And it's got unbelievable stopping power on anything, any of the big guns. And that's, I carry a 470, and I've had good success with it.
What weapon do you carry in the rainforest? Because I know
we have large caliber. We've got 375s and 458 lots. It's an old English double. She's almost 100 now. Still works like a bank vault. It's a 475 number 2, made by Watson Brothers. Very elegant rifle, but as you've got testament, she's saved quite a bit of bacon. So,
what bullets do you prefer shooting, Pete? There must be a couple different ones, but what are they?
Andy, I'd say to me, probably the best expanding bullets are Swift A-frame. Over the years, I've never seen one fail. They always come out the way they do. They look in the photographs, on the advertising and stuff like that.
Africa professional hunters actually have a lot to say about the rifles and cartridges that their clients bring to Africa, but they almost never discuss the issue publicly. They are running a business in the end, which often involves catering to clients in the firearms industry. Because of this, they usually shy away from stating things that can turn a client off. Saying that Swift makes the best bullet will probably mean that Hornady isn't going to hunt with you the next year. Saying that Rigby makes the best bolt-action rifle ever made will undoubtedly cause Blaser not to book any further hunts with you. So PHs do have to be careful what they say, because they are running a business in the end. But this video did give you a general sense of how some African PHs really feel about the rifles and cartridges that we bring to Africa with us. And hopefully they provided you with a rare glimpse into their thought process. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and as always, good hunting.